Uttam Prabha. Digital India. Educated India.
Dear students, welcome to this new lecture of soil technology, and today we are going to talk about a new topic, that is organic soil colloid. And we have already covered what is inorganic soil colloid in our previous lecture, and also we have discussed about the structure of different inorganic colloids. Today we are going to talk about this organic soil colloid, or in other words soil organic matter. Now, these are the major concepts which we are going to cover in this lecture. First of all, we are going to talk about the soil organic matter, or in the abbreviation of soil organic matter is SOM or SOM. And also we are going to talk about humus, and we are also going to cover the effects of soil forming factors on soil organic matter. And then we are going to talk about carbon cycling and carbon sequestration. Then we will be covering composition and fractionation of soil organic matter. And finally, we will be talking about structure and properties of soil organic matter. So these are the five major aspects which we are going to cover in this lecture. So the definition of soil organic matter varies from one researcher to another researcher. So different researchers have given different definition for soil organic matter. But for example, Schnitzer and Khan in 1978 defined soil organic matter as a mixture of plant and animal residues in different stages of decomposition, substances synthesized microbiologically and or chemically formed breakdown products, and the bodies of live and dead microorganisms and their decomposing remains. So you can see that the soil organic matter contains is a mixture of plant and animal residues in different stages of decomposition, and also some synthesized microbially synthesized product or chemically breakdown products, and also the bodies of live and dead microorganisms and their decomposing remains. So it is a kind of mixture. And humus is humus is a component of soil organic matter. So this humus is basically the stabilized component of soil organic matter. It includes humic substances, in short form we call it HS, plus resynthesis products of microorganisms which are stable and a part of the soil. So humus basically is a stable compound, and its chemical nature is complex. So chemical structure of humus is very complex. So we are going to discuss that later. So we know that in any soil, in ideal condition, soil contains 45% mineral matter and 25% air and 25% water in the pore spaces, and only 5% of the organic matter. However, the soil organic matter content varies with soil type, and it is expressed in percentages. Obviously, it varies from 0.5 to 5%. And the organic soils like histosols may have 100% soil organic matter. So there are two types of soil. One is called mineral soil. That means the natural soil, normal soil which we see. In this soil organic matter can vary from 0.5 to 5%. However, in case of organic soil which contains huge amount of organic matter, the soil organic matter content can go up to 100%. And soil organic matter has very high reactivity even in low concentration. So it does not matter how much content how much soil organic matter is there in the soil. Even small amount of soil organic matter is there, that soil organic matter is having high reactivity. So this soil organic matter fraction, although it contains only 5%, it is highly reactive and it governs the soil physical, chemical and biological properties. Like clay particles, the soil organic matter also shows charge characteristics, and as a result of these charge characteristics, uh, you know this soil organic matter is considered as highly reactive component of the soil. So if we see the the different components of soil organic matter, this soil organic matter contains fresh residues of less than 10%. That means, for example, fresh litter fall, fresh leaf deposition over the surface of the soil, that is contains less than 10%. And also it contains decomposing organic matter, which is known as the active fraction, which varies from 33 to 50%. And living organism, both microorganisms and macroorganisms contain less than 5% of soil organic matter, and stabilized organic matter or humus contain 33 to 50%. So you can see a large share of the soil organic matter is stabilized organic matter and humus, and this humus is the major fraction which governs the soil physical, chemical and biological activities, and this humus is known as a storehouse of nutrients in the soil. So if we see the classification of, I have already told you in this slide that living organisms are there in the soil, and that counts into the soil organic matter. So if we see the classification of soil organisms, we can divide them broadly into macroorganisms and microorganisms, and these microorganisms are also divided into microflora and microfauna. Now among the microflora, you can see bacteria and fungi are there, which are having the size of less than 5 micron, and microfauna is having the size of less than 100 micron. Examples are protozoa and nematodes. So, and among the macroorganism, there are two subdivisions. One is called mesoorganism, which varies from 100 micron to 2 millimeter. Example, springtails and mites. And among the macroorganism, another subgroup which varies in size from 2 to 20 millimeter, there are earthworms, millipedes, woodlice, snails and slugs. Among the plants, algae is there, which has the size of 10 micrometer, and roots are having the size of greater than 10 micrometer. Excuse me. So let us see the functions of soil organic matter. So we have seen the basic composition of soil organic matter. Now it is important to see the functions of soil organic matter. Now soil organic matter governs the physical, chemical and biological properties of the soil. Let us see what are the physical properties it controls. So soil organic matter improves soil structure, water holding capacity, aeration and aggregation of soil. So since the soil structure is basically defined as a arrangement of primary soil particles like sand, silt and clay, this arrangement of soil particles is dependent on some binding agent, and soil organic matter acts as a binding agent for for maintaining the soil structure. And also, due to huge amount of micropores are present in the soil organic matter, it helps to hold the water for a long duration of time. So the soil which contains high amount of soil organic matter is having high water holding capacity. And due to the presence of soil organic matter, when there is an improvement of soil structure, that also helps in proper aeration and aggregation in the soil. So there will be better air movement in the soil when there is high amount of soil organic matter. And soil organic matter also serves as a source of various macro and micronutrients, because this soil organic matter develops huge amount of negative charge. It has got huge amount of cation exchange capacity. So as a result of that, these negative charge attracts the positive charge cations which are macronutrients and micronutrients, and as a result of that, soil organic matter serves as the storehouse of various macro and micronutrients, specifically humus. So, the soil organic matter also has large quantities of carbon, which serves as the energy source for different microorganisms. Remember, the importance of microorganisms cannot be neglected in the soil, because these microorganisms are the major factor for decomposition of organic matter or mineralization of organic matter, and also running the different biogeochemical cycles in the soil. So, for maintaining the energy source of these microorganisms, soil organic matter serves the energy source. So, this energy source is carbon, and the soil organic matter has high specific surface area, because the size of the soil organic matter colloidal particle is less than that of the clay particle. So you can imagine that how high surface area is there. So we can see that per gram of soil organic matter can produce 800 to 900 square meter of specific surface area. So high specific surface area, and also it has high cationation capacity to the tune of 1300 to 1400 centimole per kg. So therefore it serves plant nutrients, heavy metal cations and organic material. It produces chelates by formation of some coordinate compound with some metals ions, and increase their availability to the plants, and also it helps in absorption of different pesticides. So you can see that function of soil organic matter is highly there are numerous functions of soil organic matter, and not only it improves the soil physical condition for maintaining the soil fertility, it is also very important to maintain the soil organic matter content in any soil, and also it influences soil chemical properties. Now, how the soil organic matter content varies in the soil along with the depth. So, if we see in this picture, it is clearly you can see that at the surface of the soil, when there is an O horizon or organic horizon, the or in the topsoil where there is a fresh litter fall, and also dead bodies of different animals, so soil organic matter content is high. And as we go deep down into the soil, in the subsoil as well as in sea horizon, you will see there is continuous decrease of soil organic matter. So there is a gradient of soil organic matter content we can see in the soil from topsoil to the increasing depth. So obviously that is the reason that we can see the organic matter concentration highest in the O horizon, followed by A horizon, and as we go down to B horizon and C horizon, the organic matter concentration is getting reduced. So we can see that these are some general properties of soil organic matter. For example, the color of the soil organic matter is typically dark color of many soil. The color of the soil organic matter is dark. So the presence of soil organic matter imparts the dark color of the many soils, and since it is dark, imparting dark color in the soil, it helps in it helps in facilitating the warming, because it can absorb the radiation, and also it helps in water retention, because organic matter can hold up to 20 times of its weight in water, and as a result of that it helps preventing drying and shrinking, and may significantly improve the moisture retaining properties of the sandy soil. So in any soil, for example in case of sandy soil where the water movement is quite high because of low water holding capacity, if we add soil organic matter, it improves the moisture retaining properties of this sandy soil, because when we are adding the soil organic matter, it due to its high amount of porosity, it can hold more amount of water. So that is why, to improve the soil physical condition in any type of light texture soil, we generally recommend to apply soil organic matter. And also the soil organic matter combines with clay mineral, and when it combines with the clay mineral, it cements soil particles into structural units called aggregates. So structural improvement in the soil is maintained by combination of soil organic matter and clay minerals. We have already discussed that, and it helps in permitting the gaseous exchange and also stabilizing the structure and also increasing the permeability. So increasing the permeability helps in water movement also. So you can see that how these soil organic matter is helping in many direction when it is present in the soil. The chelation, I have mentioned about the chelation in the last slide. So the soil organic matter forms some stable complexes with copper, manganese, zinc and other polyvalent cations to form the chelates. So these chelates enhances the availability of these micronutrients to higher plants, which will otherwise will be leached down through flowing water. So you can see that it also helps in soil fertility, maintaining the soil fertility. Now, regarding the solubility of soil organic matter in the water, the soil organic matter is generally insoluble because of its association with the clay. Also, salts of divalent and trivalent cations with organic matter are insoluble, and isolated organic matter is partly soluble in water. And as a result of this insolubility of soil organic matter, little organic matter is lost by leaching. Otherwise, the leaching, as you know, this is downward movement through solution phase, in solution phase. So this downward movement in solution phase does not occur due to this insolubility of organic matter in the water. And it also helps as a buffering agent. Now buffering, organic matter exhibits buffering in slightly acid, neutral and alkaline ranges, and it helps to maintain uniform reaction in the soil. So organic matter prevents drastic change in in soil pH, and as a result of that, it helps in maintaining the uniform reaction in the soil. So this is called the buffer action, and soil organic matter produces buffering action in the soil. So a soil which contains huge amount of soil organic matter is having higher buffering capacity than a soil which contains less amount of soil organic matter. Now the next thing is cation exchange. So total acidities of isolated fractions of humus ranges from 300 to 1400 centimole per kg of soil. So you can see that it may increase the CEC of the soil from 20 to 70% of the CEC of many soils, especially in molly soils, which contain organic, huge amount of organic matter, is basically due to the organic matter. So cation exchange capacity is mainly cation exchange capacity of any soil which contains organic matter is basically coming from the soil organic matter content, because it helps it shares the major fraction of the total cation exchange capacity. Mineralization is the decomposition of organic matter into mineral form. So we can see that decomposition of organic matter yields carbon dioxide, ammonium, nitrate, phosphate and sulfate, and these are the source of different nutrient elements for plant growth. For example, ammonium and nitrate are the nitrogen source for plant growth. Phosphate is the phosphorus source for plant growth, and sulfate is the sulfur source for plant growth. So through this mineralization action also, these soil organic matter helps in maintaining the soil fertility, and it also helps in combination when it combines with organic chemicals, it affects the bioactivity, persistent and biodegradability of pesticide and other organic chemicals, and as a result of that, it modifies the application rate helps in modification of the application rate of pesticide for effective control. So you can see that the properties and the function of soil organic matter is quite variable, and it helps in maintaining the proper balance between physical, chemical, and biological properties of the soil. And as a from the plant growth and soil physical and soil chemical point of view, the presence of soil organic matter is generally considered as beneficial. So, we have discussed about the functions of soil organic matter. Let us see what are the factors which affect, which basically controls the soil organic matter. Now, quantity of soil organic matter in a soil is basically a function of climate, vegetation, parent material, time, and topography, just like soil. So, soil organic matter accumulates rapidly initially, declines slowly, and then reaches an equilibrium. Now, why this equilibrium is attained? Equilibrium is attained due to the microbial attack resistant organic acids, stability of humus due to its interaction with polyvalent clays and cations, and low amount of essential nutrients. So these are some of the reason that there is an equilibrium when in the accumulation of soil organic matter. So let us discuss these factors one by one. So let us first discuss climate. So climate affects the type of plant species, amount of plant material produced, and the degree of microbial activity. Obviously, in the desert region, the types of the plant will be different from that of grassland soils. So, for example, semi-arid and grassland associated soils are usually having high soil organic matter. However, desert and semi-desert and tropical soils are having low soil organic matter because of high temperature. The high temperature facilitates the decomposition of soil organic matter. As a result of that, desert soil, semi-desert soil, and tropical soil do not contain high amount of soil organic matter. Now, however, tropical soil have high humus due to complexation of humic substances with inorganic constituents like coards, oxides, and amorphous materials present in tropical soils. So, you can see that climate is affecting the organic matter distribution in different types of soil. Now, what about the vegetation? Vegetation, you can see that grasslands usually have high soil organic matter than forest soils. And what is the reason? The reason is due to the greater amount of the plants and inhibition in nitrification that preserves the nitrogen and carbon, and higher humus synthesis and high base status of grassland soil. These basically promotes ammonium fixation by lignin. So these are some of the reasons that you can see that grassland soil are having higher amount of organic matter, soil organic matter than that of forest soils. What about the parent material? Now, parent material also affects the resulting soil's texture and hence soil organic matter content. So, for example, clay soils have high soil organic matter than sandy soils. So, we have seen there is a correlation between positive correlation between clay and soil organic matter, where there is a negative correlation between soil organic matter and sand in a soil. And for example, clays like montmorillonite absorb organic molecules very well, and as a result of that protects nitrogenous materials from microbial attack. So we have already seen the structure of montmorillonite in our previous lectures. So you can see these montmorillonite has high amount of surface area, both internal and external surface area, and as a result of that, these montmorillonite can absorb organic molecules very well, and as a result of that, it protects these organic molecules from the attack of microbes, because if there is a microbial attack, these organic matter will decompose. So it can be easily seen that why there is a positive correlation between clay and soil organic matter due to this protective action of clay for different organic matter. Another important factor is topography. Topography means the unevenness of the Earth's surface. So topography affects climate, runoff, evaporation and transpiration, and hence it also affects the soil organic matter content. Remember that north facing soils are wetter and cooler than the hotter and drier south facing soils. Hence, north facing soils are having more soil organic matter. Now, in general, moist and poorly drained soils have high soil organic matter due to reduced microbial activity than well drained soil. So, when the soil is moist and poorly drained, they have high soil organic matter because the microbial activity in those soils will be less, because most of the microorganisms which helps in decomposition of the soil organic matter are aerobic in nature, and due to the poor drainage condition, these microorganisms cannot live, and as a result that the soil organic matter will accumulate, and the opposite condition can be seen in case of well drained soil. So we have discussed about the basics of soil organic matter, and then we have discussed about the we have also discussed about the functions of soil organic matter, why it is beneficial, and then we have discussed about the different factors, soil forming factors, and how they impact soil organic matter. Now it is important to discuss why we learn about soil organic matter. What is the broader impact of soil organic matter? So for that we need to understand what is carbon cycle and why it is important. Now, as you can see in this graph, the atmospheric global carbon dioxide emission continues to rise from 1959 to 2019. There has been a continuous increase. So we have seen that atmospheric carbon was approximately 280 ppm in the pre-industrial era, and which has increased to 370 ppm by the year 2000. And to stabilize the future atmospheric carbon concentration at 550 ppm, which is 2 times the pre-industrial level, it will require an annual reduction in worldwide carbon dioxide emission from the projected level of 21 to 7 billion tons measured at carbon by the year 2100. Now, over the past 150 years, the amount of carbon in the atmosphere from greenhouse gas emissions such as carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide, these are the major greenhouse gases. So over the past 150 years, the amount of carbon in the atmosphere from these greenhouse gases such as carbon dioxide, methane and nitrous oxide has increased by 30%. So the increased level of gases, particularly these carbon dioxides, are strongly linked to global warming, because when the concentration of these greenhouse gases increases in the atmosphere, they causes global warming by greenhouse effect. So the increased level of these greenhouse gases are largely due to high level of fossil fuel, because when there is a burning of the fossil fuel, huge amount of carbon dioxide generates, and also fossil deforestation. When there is a deforestation, that also generates that also helps in decomposition of native soil organic carbon, because there is no cover anymore, and also when there is in wildfires, and also cultivation of the land, because when you cultivate the land, you make the soil wide open, and as a result of that, the native soil organic matter which is present in the soil gets converted into carbon dioxide through microbial action. So these are different ways through which this carbon dioxide can move from different pools to atmosphere. So there is a term called carbon sequestration. Now carbon sequestration, that atmospheric carbon is steadily increasing due to global warming phenomenon, and carbon sequestration is the long term storage of carbon in oceans, soils, vegetation, especially forest and geologic formation. And carbon sequestration helps in reducing the atmospheric carbon levels. So the major aim of carbon sequestration is to cut down the the atmospheric carbon concentration or atmospheric carbon dioxide concentration. So, but before that, we need to understand, what are the different pools or inputs and outputs of carbon to the environment. So, global carbon cycle is basically composed of both inputs, which are known as pools, and outputs, which are known as fluxes of carbon to the environment. Now, there are five major pools of carbon. One is ocean, which contains 38,000 pentagram of carbon. Geologic pool, which contains 5,000 pentagrams of carbon. Soil organic carbon, which contains 1,500 to 2,400 pentagrams of carbon. Atmospheric pool, which contains 750 pentagrams of carbon, and biotic pool, which contains 560 pentagrams of carbon. So there are five major pools of carbon. Now, due to the global warming, atmospheric pool increasing at the expenses of all other pools. So, land use changes also impacts the carbon cycle. So, you can see that the land use change, when we change one type of land, for example, when we change from forest area to cultivation area or industrial area, then there is a land use change, and as a result of land use change, that also impact the carbon cycle. So if we see this geologic pool, fossil fuel burning or produce this carbon dioxide in the atmospheric pool. A biotic pool from the living organisms, deforestation and wildfires can produce the organic carbon or this carbon dioxide into atmospheric pool, and from the soil pool, cultivation and anthropogenic disturbances can changes the carbon from the soil to atmospheric pool. So the soil organic, let us focus on soil organic pool. So soil organic pool constitutes about 75% of the total carbon pool of the land, and soil inorganic carbon, that is SiC, is another important pool in subsurface horizon in arid and semi-arid soil, because in arid and semi-arid soil, these soil inorganic carbon is their concentration is comparatively high as compared to the normal, in case of as compared to the normal soil. So their content is 695 to 748 pentagrams of carbonate. These inorganic carbons are present as carbonate. So this SiC pool is mainly comprised of primary and secondary carbonates. And among the primary and secondary carbonates, the secondary carbonates aids in carbon sequestration. So the pedogenic carbonates are formed when the carbonic acid chemically reacts with calcium and magnesium in the soil solution in the upper portion of the profile, and then is leached in lower soil horizon via irrigation. So the rate of soil inorganic carbon sequestration by this mechanism may be 0.25 to 1 megagram carbon per hectare per year. So that is why, therefore, soil pool serves as a global carbon reservoir. You can see that. So that is why we should be more concerned about maintaining the proper soil organic matter concentration in the soil. Now, soil organic pool declines basically due to three major processes. One is mineralization of soil organic carbon, second is soil erosion losses, and third is leaching. And land use change from natural to agricultural system increases aeration and mineralization. For example, if there is a forested land, and if we are clearing that forested land for agricultural operation and opening up the soil by cultivation, then that will increase the mineralization rate, and also as a result of mineralization there will be decomposition of organic carbon. So there will be soil organic carbon conversion of soil organic carbon to carbon dioxide, and this loss is more in tropical soil than in temperate soil, because in tropical soil, due to high temperature, the activity of microorganisms to decompose or mineralize the soil organic matter is higher than that of in temperate soils. So how to manage these soil pools for carbon sequestration? Now there are several ways. One of the way is conservation tillage or no tillage. So this limited cultivation or no tillage helps in reducing the soil organic carbon loss by reducing the mineralization and erosion. And also some cover crops like legumes and crop rotation enhances the soil organic carbon sequestration, and carbon sequestration is also improved by restoring the degraded soil by erosion, desertification, salinity, and minimum operation mining operation. So obviously if we can reclaim those eroded land, desert land, saline land, and mining degraded land, then you can improve the carbon sequestration. As you can see, here is a conservation, this is a picture of conservation tillage. As you can see, we are maintaining 30% or more crop residues in the soil to, so that there is no direct sunlight interaction with the soil, so there is no bare soil surface, and as a result of that there is limited amount of decomposition of soil organic matter, and as a result carbon sequestration improves. Okay, so guys, so we have completed the pools of soil organic matter also. Now let us focus on composition of soil organic matter. Now composition, soil organic matter is basically composed of four major elements. One is carbon, which is which contain 52 to 58%, oxygen 34 to 39%, hydrogen 3.3 to 4.8%, and nitrogen 3.7 to 4.1%. Now lignins and proteins are the major organic matter groups which are present with other groups in decreasing quantities. For example, being say hemicellulose, cellulose, and ethers and alcohol soluble compounds. So soil organic matter also comprises both humic and non-humic substances. We will discuss what are the humic fractions, and so what are the non-humic substances. Non-humic substances have two major characteristics. One is they are having recognizable physical and chemical properties, and they can be easily attacked by microbes. So these are the two major criteria of non-humic substances. So examples are carbohydrates, proteins, peptides, amino acid, fats, and low molecular weight acids. Now what about the humic substances? So a general category of humic substances are basically a general category of naturally occurring biogenic and heterogeneous substances. Okay, we have already discussed about humus. So it is a naturally occurring biogenic and heterogeneous substances. So no specific physical or chemical property as in well-defined organic compounds. So in well-defined organic compounds you can see some specific physical or chemical properties. However, in case of humic substances there is no specific physical or chemical property, and they are yellow to black in color, and high molecular weight, and also refractory in nature. And they can be subdivided into three major fractions. One is called humic acid, another is fulvic acid, and third one is humin. So humic acid, fulvic acid, and humin are the three major fractions of humic substances or humus. So let us discuss the different theories for the formation of humic substances. So humic substances are formed by four different pathways. So these pathways are suggested by the scientists. So we are going to discuss these four different pathways. So pathway 1, pathway 2 and 3 are also known as polyphenol theory, and pathway 4 is known as lignin theory. So in pathway 1, which was given by the scientist Stevenson in 1982, it assumes that humic substances are formed from sugars, and they are usually and this is not usually considered as significant pathway, but the next pathway, that is pathway 3, that is called polyphenol theory, is important. So here in this pathway, lignin is an important component of humic substances formation, because lignin undergo microbial attack enzymatically and release phenolic aldehydes and acids, and these are then altered into quinones. So you can see here I have given here one quinone structure, and these quinones polymerize in the presence of or absence of amino acids to form humic like macromolecules. Okay, so so this is about the pathway 3, which is a polyphenol theory. Another polyphenol theory is pathway 2. So this is also similar to pathway 3. However, here polyphenols are synthesized from non-lignin sources like cellulose. So polyphenol pathways 2 and 3 are predominant in forest soils. This is very important, guys. So polyphenol pathways 2 and 3 are predominant. You can see these in the forest soils. What about the pathway 4? So it follows the lignin theory, but it assumes that humic substances are nothing but modifying lignin that remain after microbial attack. So you know that lignin is resistant to microbial attack. So lignin decomposed at the last in the decomposition sequence. So this pathway assumes that the humic substances are nothing but modified lignins that remain after microbial attack, and these lignins undergo further modification resulting in first humic acid and then fulvic acid, and this is predominant in poorly drained soil. So these are the 4 different pathways proposed by scientists for formation of humic substances. Now let us see the properties of humic substances. So the properties of the humic substances, you can see here the diameter of the humic substances ranges from 1 to 0.001 micron for humic acid, and fulvic acid is even smaller. And these humic substances are hydrophilic and consist of globular particles. So you can see there is structure of humic acid and also structure of humic acid, and they are complex. So humic substances are considered as coiled long chain molecules or 2D or 3D cross-linked macromolecules. So the negative charge of humic substances is derived from ionization of their acidic functional groups. So if you see what are the important functional groups which are present in the humic substances, we can see both acidic functional group, alkaline functional group, and also basic functional group and neutral functional groups are there. So primary acidic functional groups are carboxyl and phenolic hydroxyl groups. Other functional groups are alcoholic hydroxyl group, quinonic group, and ketonic group. Humins are high in alcoholic hydroxyl group, and fulvic acid mainly has carboxyl group. So remember, this is the one of the major difference between fulvic acid and humic acid, that fulvic acid contain more carboxyl groups. So total acidity of fulvic acid is higher than that of humic acid. As you can see, these are the acidic functional groups which are present in the soil. So we can see here this is a carboxyl group, and this is enolic group, there is a phenol group, there is quinone group, and so these are acidic functional groups. Among the neutral functional group, you can see this is alcohol, then ether, then ketone, then aldehyde, then ester, and among the basic functional group you can see amines and amides. So these are the functional groups which you can see in the humic substances. However, in the fulvic acid, these carboxyl functional groups are highly present, as more present in more higher quantity than that of humic acid, and as a result their total acidity is higher in case of fulvic acid. So average molecular weight of fulvic acid is 500 to 5000 Dalton. However, average molecular weight of humic acid is 3000 to 1 million Dalton. So you can see or 1 lakh Dalton, you can or 10 lakh Dalton, you can see. So average molecular weight of humic acid is quite higher than that of fulvic acid. And molecular weight measurement depends on pH, concentration, and ionic strength. Remember that soil humic acid have higher molecular weight than aquatic humic acid. So also, depending on where you can see this humic acid, there also molecular weight changes. So soil humic acid is having higher molecular weight than aquatic humic acid. And the mean formulas of humic acid, as you can see, C10H12O5N for humic acid and C12H12O9N for fulvic acid. So what are the properties of humic substances? So you can see that major elements of humic acid and fulvic acid are carbon and oxygen, and fulvic acid have lower carbon but higher oxygen than humic acid. So fulvic acid having lower molecular weight than humic acid. However, fulvic acid have lower carbon than humic acid but higher oxygen than humic acid. Atomic oxygen to carbon ratio is considered as the base to classify the humic type. So this humic acid have OC ratio of 0.5, whereas fulvic acid have OC ratio of 0.7. Okay, so you can see the difference from here. Okay, so now if we see the properties of these different humic substances, this is very important. So the properties of the humic substances, you can see there are three major fractions. One is called fulvic acid, another is humic acid and humic. And the color of the fulvic acid varies from light yellow to yellow brown, and humic acid color varies from dark brown to grey black, and humin is purely black in color. So if we move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, you will see there is an increase in intensity of the color. Obviously, you can see light yellow and then yellow brown and then dark brown and grey black and black. And also when you move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, you will see that increase in degree of polymerization. So obviously there is an increase in degree of polymerization as we move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin. And also there is an increase in molecular weight. We have already discussed that humic acid is having higher molecular weight than fulvic acid. So it varies from 2000 to 300,000 the molecular weight as we go from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin. And increase in carbon content, we have already discussed that humic acid has higher carbon content than fulvic acid, but humin is having the highest carbon content among all these three fractions. So increase in the carbon content you can see from 45% to 62% as we move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, and decrease in oxygen content from 48% to 30%. Obviously, fulvic acid have more oxygen containing group than humic acid than humin. So as we move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, we will get decreasing oxygen content, and decrease in exchange acidity. Obviously, due to the presence of this oxygen containing carboxyl group, there is the exchange acidity is higher in case of fulvic acid, which is higher than humic acid and also higher than humin. So decrease in exchange acidity you can see from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, and it ranges from 1400 to 500. And also as you move from fulvic acid to humic acid to humin, you can see there is a decrease in degree of solubility. So fulvic acid is more soluble than humic acid, which is more soluble than humin, because humin is insoluble fraction of the humus. So how we can fractionate the fraction of soil organic matter or humus? So to study soil organic matter, it must be first separated into inorganic components. So this is achieved by classical fractionation scheme. Okay, so fractionation involves precipitation of humic substances by three methods. One is the classical method, that is adjustment of pH and salt concentration. Then we can do that by addition of organic solvents also, and thirdly we can do that by addition of metal ions also. So this flow chart shows the fractionation of soil organic matter by alkali. So alkali extraction using 0.1 to 0.5 molar sodium hydroxide or sodium carbonate are usually done, and alkali extractant are based on solubility principle. So you can see we are starting with the soil organic matter with we are treating with alkali, then we will be getting two fraction. One is the humic substances which will be soluble, and insoluble fraction will be humin and non-humic matter. Okay, so the insoluble fraction will be humin and non-humic matter. I told you that humin is insoluble fraction and humic substances will be soluble. Now if we further react these humic substances with acid, it will separate it into fulvic acid, which is soluble fraction, and humic acid, which is insoluble fraction. Okay, so after treating with the acid, you can see fulvic acid and humic acid separated. Remember, humic acid is acid insoluble fraction. Now if we treat this humic acid with alcohol, you will get humic acid which is further insoluble and hematomelanic acid which is soluble. So you can see that humic acid can be further fractionated into humic acid and humato-malonic acid. Now this insoluble humic acid, if we treat it with neutral salt, we can get two fraction, that is soluble brown humic fraction and insoluble gray humic fraction. And in this here fulvic acid, which is soluble fraction, if we adjust the pH to 4.8, we will get again two fractions, one is soluble fulvic acid and insoluble beta humus. So you can see this is how using the alkali we can separate out the different humic fractions. First it will separate out humin and then we'll get separate, then we can separate out the humic acid and fulvic acid. So one thing is clear, that humin is insoluble, fulvic acid is soluble in both alkali and acid, and humic acid is basically acid insoluble fraction. Okay, humic acid is acid insoluble fraction. So this is the last topic, that is last aspect of this lecture, that is molecular structure of soil organic matter. So the basic backbone structure of soil organic matter is an enigma, because the structure of soil organic matter comprises of similar functional groups and presence of aliphatic and aromatic compounds. So using this NMR 13C NMR study, soil was found to have paraffinic carbon, and then acetyl group, amino acid carbon, carbon in carbohydrates, and aliphatic structures containing hydroxyl groups, aromatic carbon, phenolic carbon, and carbon in CO2H groups. So the carbohydrates, proteinaceous materials like amino acids, peptides and proteins, and lipids such as alkanes, alkenes, saturated and unsaturated fatty acid, alkyl, mono, di and triesters in soil organic matter are tightly bound by the aromatic soil organic matter compounds. So these two scientists, Schulten and Schnitzer, in 1993 proposed a two-dimensional structure of humic acid. In this two-dimensional structure, aromatic rings are linked covalently by aliphatic chains, and in this structure oxygen is present as carboxyls, phenolic and alcoholic hydroxyl esters, ethers and ketonic groups, and nitrogen is present as heterocyclic structures and nitriles, and elemental composition is C308H328O90N5. Molecular weight was 5.540 Dalton, and you can see that the carbon cell skeleton has high was having high microporosity with voids which can bind various such as carbohydrates and proteinaceous materials and inorganic compounds, that is clay, mineral and metal oxides and water. So this is the first two-dimensional structure given by one of the first two-dimensional structure given by the scientist of humic acid. And they also in 1993 proposed another structure of humic acid. One molecular weight of humic acid was assumed to interact with 10% carbohydrate and 10% proteinaceous material, and it was having the elemental composition of this and molecular weight of 6651. There is a correction, this should be 5540, please. There is a typo of this dot. So the molecular weight is 6651 Dalton, and elementary analysis of 60 elementary analysis has revealed that there was 61.8% of carbon, 5.9% of hydrogen, 29.8% of oxygen and 2.5% of nitrogen. So what is the reason that the basic structure of humic substances is still not fully understood? There are three reasons. The structure is very complex. So the first reason is humic substances structures are very heterogeneous and complex, and there are no regularly repeating structural unit or sets of unit, and as a result there is no two humic substances are having the similar structure. So because of these, there is no clearly understandable or clearly comprehensive structural depiction of humic substance. Now remember that the functional groups and charge characteristics of soil organic matter is also very important, because soil organic matter has a higher surface area and CEC than clay minerals, and it contributes 80% of the CEC of the soil. And remember that this organic matter is a variable charge component, and I will show you in the next slide how this variable charge basically develops due to pH changes. And soil organic matter is negatively charged at pH values greater than 3, and as the pH decreases, the degree of negative charge increases due to the deprotonation or dissociation of H plus or protons from functional groups. So we already know that these are the major acidic functional groups like carboxyl, quinone groups, phenolic hydroxyl groups, and enols. Right. So these carboxyl, quinone, phenolic hydroxyl, and or phenolic group and enol group are present as major acidic functional groups. So you can see this is how these negative charge or variable charge develop in the soil organic matter. So there is a large complex organic humus molecule consisting of chains of and rings of mainly carbon and hydrogen atom. So carboxyl and phenolic hydroxyl groups deprotonate. So we can see this is a carboxyl group, this is a phenolic hydroxyl group, this is a alcoholic hydroxy group also. So they basically deprotonated, and you can see these are the deprotonated fractions, deprotonated functional groups. This is the deprotonated carboxyl group, this is the deprotonated alcoholic hydroxy group, this is the deprotonated phenolic hydroxyl group. Okay, so these carboxyl and phenolic hydroxyl groups deprotonate at pH common in the most soils, hence they are major contributors for negative charge in the soil. So basically, depending on the pH variation, they deprotonates and produces this negative charge, which basically attract the positive charge cation. So that is why they are considered as the major contributors for negative charge in the soil. So in the normal pH condition, you can see that they are generating this negative charge. Also, some of them are developing positive charge also here due to the variation of the pH, as you can see we have given here. So phenolic hydroxyl group, when there is an protonation, so there is a positive charge development. So you can see the negative charge and positive charge both develops in soil organic matter, and that is why it is variable. But in general, the quantity or magnitude of negative charge is very high. Okay, so the net charge is always negative in soil organic matter. So in carboxyl group, carboxyl group 55% contains 55% of the total carbon cation exchange capacity of soil organic matter, and phenolic hydroxyl groups, enols and quinonic groups contributes 30% of the CEC of soil organic matter up to pH 7. And with increase in pH, CEC of clay changes much less than that of soil organic matter, because this huge amount of negative charge development in the soil. So with increase in the pH, CEC of clay changes much less than that of soil organic matter, and this is due to the presence of permanent charge in clay, which changes little with pH. Remember, in case of clay, the most of the negative charge is from permanent charge, which does not vary with pH. But in case of soil organic matter, the majority of the charge is variable charge or pH dependent charge. Okay, so when there is an increase in the pH, CEC of the clay doesn't change that much as compared to the soil organic matter. However, CEC of organic matter fraction increases drastically with increase in pH due to dissociation of H plus from their functional groups. So when there is a increase in pH, obviously there will be deprotonation, just like we have seen in this slide. So deprotonation will increase, and as a result of that, the cation exchange capacity or attracting capacity for the cations will be increased. And also soil organic matter also drastically increases the cation exchange capacity of sandy soils. So if we want to increase the fertility of a sandy soil, we generally apply huge amount of soil organic matter or organic matter in the soil to increase the soil organic matter content. So guys, we have wrapped up this lecture. I hope that you have gained some knowledge about soil organic matter and its implication and its importance in soil. These are some of the references. I'll specifically request you to go through this environmental soil chemistry by Professor Donald Sparks. second edition academic press, and it will help you to enrich more with different aspects of soil chemistry, especially soil inorganic colloid and organic colloid. And let us wrap up our lecture here, and let us meet in our next lecture to discuss some new topic. Thank you very much. Let us meet in our next lecture.